During World War II, the American military faced a critical problem. Their bomber planes were getting shot down at an alarming rate over Germany. They needed to reinforce the armor on the planes, but armor is heavy. If they added too much, the planes couldn't fly. They had to put the armor only where it mattered most. So the military looked at the planes that returned from battle. They analyzed the bullet holes. They found that the planes were riddled with bullets in the wings, the tail, and the center of the body. The commanders decided to reinforce those areas. It seemed logical. That is where the planes were getting hit. But a statistician named Abraham Wald stopped them. He said, "You are making a fatal mistake. You are looking at the planes that came back. You need to put the armor where the bullet holes are not." The commanders were confused. Why would they armor the places that weren't getting hit? Wald explained that the planes with bullet holes in the wings and tail were the ones that survived. They could take damage there and still fly home. The planes that were hit in the engine and the cockpit never came back. They were at the bottom of the ocean. The military was only looking at the survivors. They were ignoring the dead. This is survivorship bias, and it is the single biggest reason why you are failing to build wealth. Survivorship bias is the logical error of concentrating on the people or things that made it past some selection process and overlooking those that did not, typically because of their lack of visibility. We look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg. We see that they all dropped out of college. We see that they all started tech companies in garages. So we conclude, to be a billionaire, I should drop out of college and start a tech company. But we are ignoring the graveyard. For every Steve Jobs, there are 10,000 college dropouts who started tech companies in garages and went bankrupt. We don't see them. They don't write memoirs. They don't give TED Talks. They are the planes at the bottom of the ocean. By copying the survivors, you are often copying the wrong variables. You are copying their risks without realizing that they survived despite those risks, not because of them. This bias destroys your investment strategy. When you look at the stock market, you see companies like Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft. You look at their historical charts and think, if I had just bought and held, I would be rich. But you are looking at a survivor data set. You are forgetting about Enron. You are forgetting about WorldCom. You are forgetting about the thousands of companies that were once in the S&P 500 but went to zero and were delisted. Mutual fund managers use this bias to trick you. They show you a fund that has beaten the market for 10 years. They say, look at our performance. But they don't show you the 50 other funds they started 10 years ago that failed and were quietly closed down. They launch 50 funds, wait to see which one gets lucky, and then market that one as skill. So how do we overcome this? How do we stop taking advice from the lottery winners? We have to learn to look for the failures. When you read a biography of a successful person, don't just look at what they did. Ask yourself, did other people do the exact same thing and fail? If the answer is yes, then that action is not the cause of success. It is just a common variable. For example, hard work. Every billionaire says they worked hard. So we assume hard work equals success. But look at the graveyard. There are millions of people who work 2 jobs, 7 days a week, and are still poor. Hard work is necessary, but it is not sufficient. It is a common variable among both survivors and failures. So what separates them? Often, it is asymmetric risk management. The survivors didn't just take risks. They took risks where the downside was capped, and the upside was unlimited. Bill Gates didn't just drop out blindly. He took a leave of absence from Harvard. He had a safety net. He could go back if Microsoft failed. He wasn't gambling. He was calculating. Here is the 3-step protocol to defeat survivorship bias in your life. Step 1. Invert the story. Whenever you see a success story, try to find the anti-story. If you see a YouTuber who got rich buying real estate with no money down, search for real estate foreclosure stories. If you see a crypto millionaire, search for crypto savings lost. You need to see the full data set. You need to see the bullet holes in the engines. This doesn't mean you shouldn't take risks. It means you should understand the real odds, not the Instagram odds. Step 2. Focus on systems, not outcomes. Survivors often have outcome bias. They think they made good decisions because they got a good result. But sometimes, they just got lucky. If you win at Russian roulette, it doesn't mean playing Russian roulette was a smart decision. It just means you survived. Don't copy the specific actions of successful people. Copy their systems. Don't copy what stocks Warren Buffett buys. Copy how he analyzes a balance sheet. Don't copy what business Elon Musk started. Copy his first principles thinking framework. The specific actions are often luck or timing. The systems are repeatable. Step 3. The base rate check. Before you start a new venture, ask, what is the base rate of success for this activity? If you want to open a restaurant, the base rate is that 60% fail in the first year. That is your starting point. You might be special. You might be talented. But you are probably not statistically exempt from gravity. Knowing the base rate forces you to prepare for the difficulty. It stops you from being delusional. It forces you to ask, what specifically am I doing differently than the 60% who failed? If you don't have a good answer, don't start the restaurant. Survivorship bias is the ultimate optical illusion. It makes success look easy and inevitable. It makes you think that if you just follow the 7 habits of highly effective people, you will become a millionaire. But the world is messier than that. The world is full of hidden graveyards. To navigate it, you have to be like Abraham Wald. You have to stop looking at the planes that made it home. You have to look at the empty spaces. You have to look at the silence. You have to ask, who is missing from this picture? When you start seeing the invisible failures, you stop chasing lottery tickets. You start building armor for your engines. You start managing your risk. And that is how you survive long enough to win.